Hey everybody, Clark Tanner, physical therapist, life coach, and founder of Thrive Physical Therapy and Wellness in Richmond, Virginia. And this is Strive to Thrive, your weekly podcast designed to help improve your health, increase your success level, and ultimately help you thrive in life.
Cool. Yeah, my name is Cody Shawhouse. I'm a Thrive Physical Therapist as well out of the Richmond area. And we're going to be basically talking today about how to get started with exercise and then how some people struggle with making those first couple steps. Today's podcast is really something that I wanted to talk about, to Clark about, because I know a lot of people struggle with the initial actions or the initial steps toward getting into a good, healthy exercise habit. It's hard to do. It's a lot of information. There's a lot of content out there, which makes the steps seem kind of hard because there's so many options. There's so many avenues in which to take. So today my hope was to have that discussion, and then if you guys internally realize that maybe I'm struggling with the same thing, I'm having trouble getting my feet off the ground and really getting into a good exercise routine. If you notice some of these things that we talk about within you, hopefully we can talk about those and we can help you kind of figure out how to get started. Right? That'd be our main goal from all this. So I'm just going to pose the first question to you right off the bat. Right? So right off the bat, can you tell me, what do you think the biggest barrier to getting into exercise is?
I really think there's kind of two, but I'll throw one out first. I think one is a lot of times confusion as to what the right direction to go, because there's just so many choices. Crunch time, the why. There's online stuff. There's just like phone apps. There's so many different things. I think it gets confusing as to like what's the best choice for me. And so I think when you're not quite sure what is the best choice for you, the natural tendency is to procrastinate because you don't really know which direction to go. So I think for me, that's one of the biggest things. People know they want to, but where do you start? Is it free weights? Is it walking? Is it cardio? Is it HIIT training? Oh my gosh, there's so many different, just listing out all the possibilities.
Take all day.
There's a million choices. What do you do when there's a million choices? You don't make a choice.
Right? You freeze up.
So I think that's, for me, that's one of the single biggest reasons.
I agree. I think that's where I was going to go with it too. I think exercise has become a whole different thing than it used to be, right? I think exercise inherently is good, right? People know it's good. It's not a question of like, should I exercise or should I not? I think
everybody gets that now, right?
Easy, right? If you're wondering at this point, should I exercise? Is it good for me? Well, talk to your doctor, right? and then the answer is yes if they tell you yes.
For many reasons. Okay? so not only just from a likelihood of developing problems like health-wise, bigger picture, you just want to feel good, right? And we don't feel good. We don't have a strong emotional state and feel good without having a basic foundation of a level of fitness. It just doesn't happen. Okay, so it's not a should do. It's a must do. Quite frankly, it's a must do because that really is the tide that raises all ships. And you have to have a degree of fitness. Now, do you need to be an Ironman or no? Not at all. If you want to, more power to you. But you don't have to.
Well, that's where the media and that's where things have really changed exercise recently. So this is kind of my soapbox to prepare for that. But the thing that really gets people, or that I think gets people locked up, is you go online and you go on Instagram and you go on Facebook, and now people are getting flooded with exercise videos and fitness tutorials and inspirational videos of someone running up a mountain or climbing across a thing. And I think the problem that's happened now is that people see it so much. One, we're getting attenuated to it. So we're just seeing it so much that it's no longer really motivating. It's just kind of a constant stream of content, right? So no longer is it special. It's just there. And secondly, all we're seeing online is these fitness professionals, these fitness athletes, these exceptional species of people who are doing these crazy things, riding downhill mountains on mountain bikes, or cross-country skiing in the Alps, and you start to think, well, I can't do any of that.
But you suffer by comparison.
Oh, right.
It's
almost demoralizing. It flattens out, right? So it's like, I can't do that. I don't. The difference, the distance I'd have to achieve to get to that level is so great that it's hard to get started. And I think.
Well, I think you just hit it on it perfectly because what that is that's a mountain to climb. So what you do is you see the mountain, right? You don't. it looks like an insurmountable, very difficult thing. And then you couple that with not being quite sure what to do, wanting to, and then feeling like, wow, this is going to be forever, or this massive process and massive endeavor.
I want to do that.
Yeah,
I don't want to climb that mountain. I don't
I get
people. I've looked and signed up for huge endurance races, and it sounds cool. But when you look at the months and months of training associated with it, it's like, I don't really want to do that.
Can I tell you a small story that relates to that completely? So I've been a competitive cyclist for a long time, and Spartan races and things like that. And it's exactly that feeling, because it's like, at this point, I know how long it takes to truly be in race shape. It takes several months, a lot of times 6 months of just grinding it out, working really, really hard to get to a really high level of fitness to where you can compete in that. So when you fall off that for a period of time and then you go to start back, there is this emotional, like, oh my gosh, like, because it takes 12 weeks. Well, that's not the same thing of starting an exercise program. And that's kind of part of one of the points we want to make.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's, it looks daunting because the people who do the beginning steps, right? The starting off phase, which everyone has to go through. There's guys who climb a mountain, or if you do all these crazy things, run an Ironman, or swim a mile, from Alcatraz or whatever. Those guys all started with their first step, right? You just don't see that because that doesn't get a lot of likes. That doesn't get a lot of media representation, right? That's not inspiring.
You don't see the grind. You see the end result.
Yeah, you see the tip of the iceberg, right? But below all that iceberg is months and months of hard work, but it also starts at a very low level, right? And you have to build yourself up from the beginning in that base. And I think that, to me, and it should be, is more inspirational at this point for a lot of people, because you see that, hey, people are exercising, they're getting started, right? I'm not the only one, in my small circle who's trying this for the first time, right? People all over the world are trying exercise for the first time. It should be something that's accepted and promoted, at that level, right? Yeah, you want to achieve these higher levels. I agree, I do too, but that shouldn't be your initial step. And if you perceive it as that, you'll never get started. You have to look at the next level thing, which should be obtainable.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say, anything, it's the process and what you become in pursuing whatever that is that really matters. And it's yes, you see some of these big achievements and some of the examples we're giving, but you can start to feel better very, very quickly and make a difference in your health and how you feel. And we also know that in terms of being successful with a habit, it's proven if you do a very small step and then you establish that as a habit and then build on it, and you just focus on that one small step, not the mountain, but getting to there on that step, and then the next rung, and then the next rung, and the next rung. And you don't keep looking up. You go, okay, eventually maybe I'll get there, but my concentration today is on this step. And once you establish that habit, then it becomes your routine, and then you can build on that, and that's how you do it gracefully and easily. And then I think being aware of the whole goal, part of the goal is to enjoy that process.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the second thing that comes to mind. It leads into that when I was going to say what we'll have problems with is I think people get emotionally excited when they make the decision. Hopefully, right? Now so the number one thing you have to do is you have to make an emotional commitment, right? People who don't make an emotional commitment to exercise, who only do it because either their daughter or their spouse or their friends tell them they have to, but they don't internally commit to that, you're not going to succeed, right? Because it's just hard to do something that you're not internally committed to, especially when things you don't want to do it, right? There are days when I don't want to get up and exercise, like as a physical therapist, but you still do it because the greater good's there, or internally it drives you. If you don't have that connection, then it's hard to imagine that you stay consistent. So the first thing is you have to make an emotional connection to it. Listen, I want to do this because, right? And that because should be a very powerful why, right? So you have to find something that resonates with you. I want to exercise so I can spend time with my grandkids. I want to exercise so I can, walk in the community with my friends. I want to exercise so I can, be around, and then spend time with my family, right? Support my spouse, whatever it may be.
And the examples he's giving, and I think it's important to signpost, is that many times that your real deep internal why power is outside of you. Many times it's not because, hey, I want to exercise because I want to feel better, we all do, we all inherently do. But sometimes our really big, deep down motivating factors that will get us through the difficult times when we don't want to get up or we don't want whatever, when it gets hard, is because of to be able to help someone else or to be there for grandkids or whatever that may be. And so it's lots of times it's outside of ourselves.
Oh yeah, you need to. I think no one's ever as motivated to help themselves as they are to help others. I've seen that 100 times over. It's the first thing is first, and use that. Yes, we should be self-driven. That's a whole other conversation topic.
Well, I think sometimes we'll save it for another topic. But what I would say is sometimes when you start, it's for someone else or this other deep thing that you want to be around or whatever. But then as you go through the process, it becomes for you, and you start to enjoy it, and you ultimately end up doing it for you. But I think maybe that's some rungs on the ladder.
Yeah, right. So absolutely. So I think that's the initial step. So this podcast is going to be about people don't typically, or how they have trouble getting started, finding out why and identifying it, and then relating the exercises that you're doing, because there's a million options, right? So finding things that push you toward that why and internally feel good about that is, I think, how you get the initial motivation. It's like, I want to go on a walk with my friends in the community because I miss my friends and I miss spending time with them, and they go on walks every day and I can't keep up. Well, do things that help you get to that step, right? Because if you achieve that, that's going to give you that internal feeling of like success, where, hey, I did it. Don't go do a bunch of bicep curls and do a bunch of activities that don't pertain to that if your goal is to walk with your friends. So it takes time to sit down, figure out what you really want, and then pick exercises based off of getting that goal achieved. And that's how you really get those, you feel good about that next step.
Yeah. And, having a buddy to do this with, or, going to a class or someplace where that's the norm, it becomes much easier if somebody's waiting on you to do it, have somebody to kind of be an accountability person. And then the other thing, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. What the research shows, it takes about roughly 6 weeks to start to hone in a habit. And once you sort of develop a habit, it doesn't necessarily take emotional commitment to it. And it's like you just get where you just kind of go. And there's ways to help do that. Like you put something out to cue you, to remind you to do it. Like put your shoes by the bed so that you know that, okay, go for a walk. I would also say start with something that's very, very small.
Yeah.
It can be just a walk. It could be, just add.
Yeah, I think common mistakes I see initially are leading to people who come out very emotionally excited. So they hit that state, they found their why, right? So now I'm stoked, I'm ready to go. I've narrowed down some of my exercise choices to what I want to do. And then I do those things 6 days a week for an hour and a half each day. And then by the end of the week, I'm exhausted. My joints hurt, my feet hurt. I just don't feel good anymore. I keep questioning why I'm doing this. And it's not a great start, right? So the idea is, your body is going to be ready for a certain level of activity at this stage, and then over time it'll adapt. It'll get stronger. Your tissue will build. A lot of things will occur. But if you just go 0 to 100,
don't come out of the gate.
You don't come out of the gate too high. You're going to end up burning out halfway through the what your goal was. So it's true. People come out really excited and emotionally amped up, and then all of a sudden but that emotional swing occurs, right? So when we get really high on our emotional spectrum, we tend to counter that high with a downward negative spin to try to get more what we call a neutral emotional state. So we'll be here, we're on cloud 9, we're exercising, and all of a sudden things get hard, and I just reverse swing, right? Now I don't want to do it anymore. This is stupid. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
You have to kind of try to find these neutral grounds a little bit more. You want small shifts, right, in your emotional spectrum when you're doing things like exercise, something that's kind of hard to commit to.
Yeah. Start out way less than you're capable of.
Yeah.
And just build.
Just move through it. Yeah. Think of it as a part of a process that you have to do, right, to get this going.
And also know that you're not gonna feel like it a lot of days. Like you're not gonna want to bound out of bed. You're not gonna, when the alarm goes off when it's cold, whatever. Yeah. And that initial emotional surge, that's the easy time. That's when you got to dial it back to not overdo. But know that it's, what are you going to do at 8 weeks, 10 weeks? Yeah. That's when you dig back into your why power and be like, okay, no, I'm going to plow through that. And you just put your head down and be like, all right, we're just not going to not do this. And you just have to decide. You have to decide that it's not a debate, it's not a question, and you're just going to get up, you're just going to move, and you're just going to do it. And then it's done. Like I mean, it's really what it is. It comes down to a decision.
It's an internal struggle, and you either convince yourself that's a good idea or you don't. And at some point, that argument from the other side is going to be a lot stronger.
It can't be a maybe, and it can't be this debate that goes in your head, but you can get to that point, but you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, just know that there's going to be days when the side that doesn't want to exercise is going to be screaming at you. You have to be able to quell that voice and say no, and then reflect back on your why. This is why I want to do this. That's my goal. Can I get through it? Right?
So you exercise regularly. How often do you bound out of bed and really want to go?
I mean, and I say never. If we're mountain biking, if I'm doing something I like really, really enjoy to do, but there are days when I get up and it's like, hey, to keep consistency with doing some of my exercises, I gotta get up. I gotta pick up some heavy things, and I gotta get up extra early, even though I didn't get great sleep last night. Maybe I stayed up too late watching the football game or whatever. I gotta get up and I gotta stretch in the morning because I'm doing a hard effort that evening, right? To keep myself healthy. So I don't know. You may watch these videos where guys, jump out of bed and everybody's smiling and exercising. It's not always that pretty. It's not always that easy, right? Those are inspirational videos, but they don't really reflect reality. It's early mornings. It's dragging yourself out of bed. It's laying in bed, accepting that I'm accepting this I'm going to do this, right? And then it's just.
So what do you know about once you actually move?
Oh, I feel great. So the difference is the switch flips quickly. I'll tell you that, right? It usually starts off with, okay, I gotta get moving. I gotta drag myself to under the. I have a downstairs that has all my exercise equipment in it. The funny thing is, once I get there, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right. Once I get to that space, once I'm in it, and I've had a glass of water, and I'm good, I'm happy again. It's like, okay, I'm glad I'm here, right? But it's that getting out from underneath the covers. It's breaking away from the easy to initiate the harder thing to do, which is the struggle. But once you get into that state, all of a sudden it feels right again. It's like, oh, this is good. I enjoy this.
It's never not fun. Can I a couple of little small analogies that I do? So what I say is, on a day when you're really tired, exhausted, whatever, and you just flat out don't want to go, what I tell them is just show up. Just show up and do something. It could be nowhere near what you had planned, but just get up, move, show up, because then you will have won that mental battle. And even though you maybe do everything, you're going to take away home feeling good that you did do something. And maybe you didn't have the energy to really go hard. On days when you feel decent, then follow through. Like whatever your plan was, just follow through. Do the exercise, do the workout, do the intensity. And on days when you feel really good, okay, go hard, do a little more than you expected to do. So, but lots of times it's one in those just show up days. That don't beat yourself up that you maybe didn't get everything done, or that you didn't work as hard as you thought you should, or anything of those things. Don't go to that mental space. Just be like, I did awesome because I showed up today.
Building a habit takes consistency first. Consistency and frequency. If you can do those two things, you will build a habit. It doesn't matter. Habits are built on decisions, not on intensity of exercise or intensity of completion, right? A good habit just requires you to commit to the idea of it, and as long as you make it happen, at a reasonable pace and reasonable consistency each week, reasonable frequency as you go throughout your week, you'll build it, right? And it's just easier and easier and easier. Now over time, there's gonna be days when it's still hard, but not as hard as it is in the beginning. So typically, I draw on a curve out for people sometimes when they first start exercising. It's always, you're gonna have this huge peak, right, where it's like easy. Right? This is the difficulty scale. Right? This huge peak where all of a sudden I love getting an exercise. It's new, it's fun, I'm learning it, right? My friends are excited for me, my family's excited for me. They're all giving me kudos, right? Then it becomes more normal for them that you're exercising, and you stop getting kudos, you stop getting praise, and now I'm kind of in the grind, right? I'm past that point. So now excitement's going to fall off, and the ease of exercise is going to go down a bit, right? And you be prepared for that swing, because it's going to happen. And then usually, hopefully by that time, you're getting closer to achieving your goal, right? So now I've achieved my goal, and I'm going to get this ease up again, right? I've got some self-fulfillment. I feel good about it. I'm back on track, And then you have to just set your eyes to the next thing, right? You got to find a new internal why if you've achieved it. Don't be done after that. Right?
Yeah. So finding an event, that's a physical event that you have to stretch for, is part of what helps with that as well.
So I think that's the big takeaway. So I think for me, the biggest takeaway is for why people have trouble exercising. It's we have too many options. Not that that's bad. It just means that you have to filter and narrow your scope, right? And you have to. So I think the first step before anyone starts to exercise, or if they're having trouble, is find your why. Right? Why do I want to do this? And then you have to make a strong emotional connection. This is why I want to do it. This is the way I want to do it. This is the reason behind all of it. And then after you've achieved that, then narrow your scope to what's going to benefit you getting into that goal. Right, so you got to figure out whatever works for you, whatever feels good. Right. If it resonates with your internal decision, then you'll enjoy doing it a lot more than if it doesn't, no matter how cool it looks.
Yeah, and then so my little final take comes on that is once you find your why, just decide. Like make it where it's no longer a debate. You just decided, and that's what you're going to be, and that's what you are. You're going to be. You are an exerciser, not you're striving to be. That you are. That's who you are. Okay, so you just decide. And then small steps, little small steps. Remember, it's not the mountain; it's the little small steps. And start come out of the gates at a pace. Don't come out too hot. Just like start slow, work your way up, and then expect that there's a lot of days you're not going to want to feel like doing it. You just got to follow through. And if you've made that decision and you've taken small steps, you get to the point where it becomes easy and you can't imagine not doing it. And that's where you want to get to. But again, that's also created one step at a time.
Yeah. So same goal we talked about earlier. It's like, when you've made a good habit, when you do the bad thing again, it feels bad, right? It's just like when I eat well, like really well. We did our sugar cleanse in January, and after the cleanse was over, I allowed myself a treat, and I felt terrible the next day. Like it was like, I think I got an ice cream sundae or something like that, and I remember I just felt like garbage, and it was just funny to see that contrast. Because before I loved that ice cream sundae, it felt good after I eat it. It was like a rush, and now I'm like, I feel terrible. Well, that's when so with exercise, you get to a certain point when if you don't exercise for a week, you feel the negative effects of that, and that's where you want to be. When the bad things shouldn't feel good, right? That's when you're in the bad state of mind. So the bad things feel bad, the good things feel good. Now you're in the right spot. You're in the right headspace.
Same exact thing happened to me after that sugar cleanse. I had a pizza, and I told CJ and Tara, my wife, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah,
no more pizza. I'm done.
Oh, like
and
can't move.
And in recent times, I've drifted back, and now it isn't so bad. So yeah.
So it's like
completely.
Your body will remind you, it'll teach you, like, hey, this is where you were. Don't go back there. And sometimes it's a gradual. I've fallen off the train a little bit. It's I'm planning on getting my nutrition right back on where I want it to be again. Once again, I got to make that why and commit to it and set my head on it. But those are the steps we recommend when you're trying to get back into exercise get into exercise either for the first time or if you're getting back into it again. Because we know as equally hard sometimes it is to look back at the top of where you were and then recommit to achieving that. Just if you fall off the train, it is difficult to restart that. But the same process, this exact same thing we talked about today, is the way that you recommit yourself and then make that happen. So.
And be kind to yourself around that.
Yeah.
Like it's just important to get back on the train. Maybe you've been in really great shape before and you fell off. Okay, just roll it again.
Yeah,
it's all right.
It's the process, it's the pursuit that's more beneficial than the end goal, right? You have to get the process rolling. So, so if you guys have questions about getting started, if you're worried about getting into exercise for the first time, if it's something you've never done before, or it's something that you just would like some guidance through, here at Thrive PT, we'd love to get you started. You can go ahead and give us a phone call. We can have a conversation with you about what services we offer around that. Or if you're not out of Richmond, Virginia, and you're in another location, feel free to talk to a physical therapist about that. They're a great avenue and a great resource to help get you exercising the right way or achieving your goals or connecting your why to what exercises that you really want to try to do to get there. So make it efficient, make it streamlined. We're just great resources for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you guys have any other questions, leave them in the comments below this post, and then let us know if there's anything else we could address. And then also, feel free to share anything that you found that made it easier for you to get started exercising, so that others might benefit from what you have to say. This is a community. We want you guys to share those experiences. I think everyone would be more encouraged if they knew that more than people are in the same boat than they think there are, and definitely more than the media represents. There's a lot of people who are trying to get started, trying to get into this. Don't feel like you're alone. So share those kind of things with people and make this a good space to feel good about them. Yeah. But thank you guys again for listening. We appreciate it. So this is your Strive to Thrive podcast. Today's conversation is a little bit more about how difficult it is to get into exercise and then ways to get over some of that difficulty.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and keep on thriving.
Thank you. Bye. But that was like